Welcome to Baby Boomer's Tales. I am so glad you're here today. My name's Jim. 4.5 years ago, I lost a job that I had been at for 18 years. It was a job with a lot of authority and a lot of office power, whatever you want to call it. I was a CFO of a contractor, a company that built big buildings, and it was a very good job, and I thought I'd be there until I retired, and I didn't plan on retiring until I was 70, and I had a plan. You know, you always have to have a plan. And so when I was let go under circumstances that we won't get into today, but it rocked my world. I was absolutely befuddled that that could happen. I mean, it really was not something that I really thought was possible, although I always knew that anything's possible. So through the course of time, because it was driving me absolutely crazy, I started writing a book for therapy. That's all it was, for therapy. And I didn't finish it. And it's not very long, and so I'm going to read it today. And I think we can do this in the time allotted. So it will kind of show where a person in their 60s, after losing their job, what they go through. At least what I went through. I hope I can help somebody out there. I know it helped me. The title of the book is Got a Job, Chapter 1. Hello, I'm Jim. About 2 hours ago I got a job. This is really exciting for me. Maybe the best news I have had in a very long time. I have landed jobs before, good jobs, jobs that I have enjoyed very much and stayed at for years. I have worked for companies that have taught me so much about business, jobs in which I have looked forward to going to work. I have had jobs that were fun and the time flew right on by. So why was I so excited about this job? I mean, I am really excited about this job. It doesn't pay as well as some jobs that I've had. I will have to drive further to go to work than my last job. I probably will not have as much control as I had on my last job. I am certain that I probably won't have as much freedom as many of my other jobs. Then why? Why am I like a little kid waiting for that birthday present? Why did I tear up when I received that phone call yesterday? Why do I seem to have joy unspeakable and am full of glory? It's just a job. Through these pages I shall take you on a 6-month journey that led me here. I was going to write this book anyway as therapy. My wife and I talked about it this morning. I felt like if I could put my experience on the paper, maybe I could help someone who is going through circumstances similar to mine. And if no one reads this book, then I have just helped myself. Chapter 2. In the beginning there was a boy and his dad's grocery store. Travel with me back into time. My dad made me work at that store, burning trash and picking up cigarette butts out of the store's gravel parking lot. As I got older, I was promoted through no hard work for myself to stalker, truck unloader, and bag boy. Yeah, I know that unloader is not a word. Maybe you have a better word for a boy taking boxes of groceries off of a truck and stacking them in the back room. You don't? Thought as much. Ha! At the ripe age of 16, I escaped my father's rule and got a job at a gas station. That lasted a couple of summers, and then I bounced around from job to job. Years later, I was working in a mine in Colorado. It was during this time that I met a fetching girl that stole my heart and later became my wife. Let's call her Kim, mostly because that's her name. Kim and Jim, get it? We rhyme. Where was I? Oh yeah. So if I was going to be married and probably have a family, yes we did, then I need to get the heck out of that mine and get a job where the likelihood of me getting killed was minimal. Through the years I went white collar, delivering potato chips, managing a western wear store, owning a department store, selling appliances at a major retailer. Wow, I really love that Western wear store. Looking back, I should have stayed there. Moving on, moving on. Chapter 3. Then I went to work for a contractor. They were involved with building big, beautiful buildings. They also were involved with building smaller, not as beautiful ones. You know, restaurants, dental offices, warehouses, and the like. Not that they are not nice, just not big and beautiful. I managed the business office and all that was involved with that. It was challenging and rewarding. It was fun and fulfilling. I hardly went to the job site. I was the numbers guy, and I did that very well. I worked 4 days a week and was paid handsomely. I controlled most things at the business end, and we were flourishing. I figured that I would work there until I retired, and I had no plans for retirement. Sure, there were problems. Nowhere on earth is problem-free. Most of these were taken care of, and I was the one who took care of them. My secretary was proficient, and everything was up to snuff. Maybe I was kind of like that frog in the tub of boiling water. I was getting ready to celebrate my 18th year there. Then one day the owner came into my office, sat down, let out a long breath. "I'm taking the company in a new direction." For a few minutes, as we talked, I didn't realize that I was not part of this plan. Then it dawned on me, and this is really where my little book begins. Chapter 4. I really thought I would stay at that last place the rest of my working life. After all, I was 47 years young when I took the job. I was 64 when they sacked me. Devastation fell upon me on my drive home. I couldn't make sense of what had happened. I had been the number 2 person there forever. I hadn't done anything wrong. I set up and dumped like an old pair of shoes. When I arrived home, I immediately told my wife. She thought I was joking. She thought I was joking, and then she saw that I wasn't. She cried that she didn't want me to end up like a good friend of ours who had suffered the same type of blindside and was dead within a year. It was emotional. She called our kids. The family rallied around me. I was numb. This wasn't my plan. I wasn't ready, spiritually or financially. We had just built and paid for a new barn, for crying out loud. I had a plan that was in the next 5 years my little nest egg would swell. Now the little eggs have been taken out of the nest and dashed upon the rocks by a mean little boy. What was I going to do? I had never been fired before. Chapter 5. Now I wasn't going to be destitute for a while. I had negotiated a 10-week severance deal, which included 3 months of my health insurance being paid. I had talked to an attorney before I signed the agreement. I wanted to make sure of my rights as an older worker getting fired. It seemed unfair. It was unfair, but life is often not very fair. It seems that since I didn't work in a cubicle for a huge corporation and wasn't being replaced by a 20-something fresh out of college someone who would take 25% of what I was making and work 80 hours a week to get it person, then a lawsuit was pretty much a crapshoot. I had to make a decision, and that decision was to go ahead, take the severance, and go away quietly. After all, with my skills, wisdom, and knowledge, I should be in high demand, right? The following days, I weighed my options. Should I look for work in corporate America? Should I look for a similar position in a small business? Should I work for myself? Decisions, decisions, decisions. After some soul-searching, I finally decided to strike it out on my own and become a small business consultant. After all, I could transfer my expertise to someone who really needed help. I created a website with the help of my oldest daughter. Okay, she created the website. Got a Facebook page for the consulting firm, my daughter again, and printed business cards. I went to Chamber of Commerce meetings, network marketing groups, and sent out letters to businesses and churches that I was sure needed my help. I was told over and over that my business model was good, was sound, was so needed. I landed a client. I gave him a huge discount if he would write a good review for me on Facebook. I was on my way. To make a long story short, my encounter with my first client was a disaster. He twisted my recommendations, he became bored with the process, and postponed the appointment in the middle of the appointment. I couldn't get him to sit still long enough to have me come back and finish the terms of the contract. Finally, I wrote and informed him that our contract was set to expire and we needed to finish up. He did respond and apologize. He said it was all right and we were done. The good news is I got paid in full. The bad news is I didn't secure the review on Facebook. I should have known something like this was going to happen. On our first appointment, he gave me the wrong address, and by the time I found his place, I was late. He said that he gave me the correct address, so I just let it go. When I got back home, I checked my mail, and the address he wrote was wrong. Go figure. I said all that to illustrate what type of client my market target was. Small business entrepreneurs are creative types, and many times they get bogged down with the seemingly mundane stuff like profit and loss statements, balance sheet, and a reconciled checking account. They can't or won't be bothered by this stuff unless something like the IRS shows up at their door. I think preventive maintenance. They were thinking drive it till the wheels fall off and get another one. I kept trying, and even though I sold a great service that so many needed, they weren't biting. 7. As time went on, I determined that maybe as I was trying to build my consulting business, I should get a job. Something to supplement my income until I was on my feet with the business. It had been 18 years since I landed my last job, and I didn't really go looking for that one. It was kind of a referral thing that worked out, so you can safely say that it had been 26 years since I last looked for a job. Things have changed. You didn't look in the newspaper now. It was internet all the way. The Daily Planet? Nope. Craigslist. Go to business and apply for a job? Nope. Monster.com, etc. Mail a resume? Nope. Email that baby along with your cover letter. Things also were beyond me, out of my control. Looking for high energy, rock and roll attitude, team player, enthusiastic, coach team members, etc., etc., etc. What? Then you realize the first HR person who sees your resume is that 20-something yada 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 I was talking about. And then it dawns on you that you're pushing that 100-pound boulder uphill in the snow. I never thought of myself as getting older until I started looking for a job at 64 years of age. Chapter 8. I've told you all this, my situation, my past, my jumbled, tumbled feelings to bring you here. Where, you may ask? Here. In the middle of all this, I wanted to be in fear. I wanted to panic. I would wake up at 4:30 every morning in a sweat. I didn't usually wake up until 6. People asked me if I was depressed. All of a sudden, it seemed like I had a lot of outgo and hardly any income. My wife started working full-time job, the job that she had held part-time for years. I used to call it her hobby. Now it was our 90% source of income. My wife, Kim, remember, told me that I had become a nicer person. This was probably due to losing one kind of stress, the kind where you are mean and combative and territorial all day long, and it carries home with you, to the help, I feel a need to panic. But I know that if I do, I shall surely drown level, digging on the inside of me. I knew that I couldn't give up, not mentally, not physically, not emotionally. I have always been pretty strong, and in my weakness, my wife would step in, and we were stronger. Saying this, I do understand that I wasn't the only one going through this. Kim, my sweet sweetheart, was weathering this storm also. I felt as if though I had brought her into this, and now I must get us both out. Chapter 9. The power of forgiveness. At first, I was so bitter towards my old boss. I wanted to hate him, his wife, his daughter, and anybody else I imagined was in on my dismissal. I wasted a lot of energy dreaming of methods for revenge. I'm not that kind of person, but when you stew on something long and hot enough, you become cooked. I knew this was hurting me. At first, I didn't care. I feel that right here I should put down a string of periods as a symbol of reflection. I need more. I know that what I had to do. I had to forgive them. That's right, forgive each and every one of them. As long as I lived in unforgiveness, then all hatred and ill will that I had built up was bringing me, and only me, down. From that moment I purposed in my heart to forgive them. Sounds great, doesn't it? Forgive them and live happily ever after. Why then did my cooker start to steam again? If my mind wasn't busy, then I seemed to wander back and there again. I had to forgive dozens of times a day. It was wearing me out. Chapter 10. The power of faith. Did I mention that I am a Christian? The answer is no, I didn't. I did not omit this detail because there is not a faith-based book. This is not a faith-based book. In some ways it is, and in some ways it isn't. I left it out only for one reason. I left it out for this moment in my story. Without God in my life, I would not have gotten past the whole getting fired, rejection, loser feeling thing. I know who I am because the Holy Spirit lives in me. So when I forgave these folks, I began to say it. I know how powerful our words are. I believe that I should speak life and goodness and not death, doom and gloom. An opportunity would come to get me mad, and I would say out loud, I forgive them in Jesus' name. I would say their names. I would say it with authority I wanted myself to hear. I would say it any time that spite or fear or plotting would come to my mind. I am an overcomer by the grace of God, and I choose to forgive them. Do you hear me, mind? Do you hear me, emotions? Do you hear me, fear? I still say it, even if it is soft, I forgive them. I say it, I say it, I say it, and I believe it. Forgiveness is one of the most important roles a person has in this life. The next time an opportunity comes, grab good old forgiveness and let them in. You'll be glad you did. Chapter 11. Time marches on. I went on for months, looking for jobs, forgiving trespassers, trying to keep on the sunny side of things. Money was starting to feel scarce. I stopped running to network groups and chamber meetings. There didn't seem to be any fruit there for me to harvest. Gas wasn't cheap, and I felt like I was wasting it by running all over the place. I stayed home, becoming the main maid cook. I would still look for a job every day. My mission was to send out a resume every single day. After a while, this is no small undertaking. I knew that I needed to stay busy. I read somewhere about unemployed people and the amount of television they watch. I kept the TV off. Staying in bed all day wasn't a problem because I usually woke up at 4:30. Lemons and lemonades, right? Just a side note here, the 4:30 in the morning wake up in a panic routine that attacked my very being when I first lost my job was really a big deal to me. It is not anywhere close to normal to wake up in a sweat-induced state of total despair and fear, at least not every day. It also is not normal for me to wake up that early in the morning. One of my goals became to sleep peacefully until 8 in the morning. So I would get up in the morning, eat, shower, straighten up the house, and look for a job. I would do this every day, Monday through Friday. That's as far as my little book went. I don't write it anymore. First time I read it in 4 years. Sorry I stumbled over some words, but I stumble over words. I'll try to edit some of that out. Thank you for listening to me today. Please remember to always be kind.